The Floor Academy podcast is sponsored by Trelama, the trade labor marketplace, where businesses can find skilled trade labor, such as flooring installers, and where flooring installers and other skilled tradespeople can find permanent or project work. You can set up your profile at trelama.com, TRALAMA.com, or download the app from the Apple App Store or Google Play. And remember, Trelama is always free for skilled tradespeople. Welcome to the Floor Academy podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Hedin, owner of Illustrious Hardwoods in Phoenix, Arizona. We are here to talk with flooring professionals from all across the country about the issues that matter to you. This week's guest is Michael Martin. Michael is the president of the National Wood Flooring Association, or NWFA as it is more commonly called. We spend our time discussing the benefits of being a member of the NWFA and how it will not only better you, but better the industry. Want to know where the NWFA is headed in the future? Stay tuned to find out. Michael Martin, are you on the line?
I am. How are you, Kyle?
I'm good. How are you? Welcome to the Floor Academy podcast.
I'm great. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. It is such a great opportunity to be able to talk with all the folks in the industry that I get to talk to and then share their stories and their wealth of knowledge with everybody that takes the time to listen and further educate themselves. So it is all my pleasure. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us who you are and how you got to where you are and where you're going.
All right. Well, I'm Michael Martin. I'm the CEO of the National Wood Flooring Association. This is the 35th anniversary of the association. It's been around for 35 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's based in St. Louis because that's where the founder was located. So the association has remained here for 35 years. And primarily what the association does, we provide networking, advocacy, education, and we define standards for the industry. So we do those things through our trade show. We have an annual trade show of about 3,000 people where products are displayed, wood flooring products, sundries, technology companies, that type of thing. And then education is done. Demos are given at the expo. And then we do about 30 weeks of training around the country in North America primarily. We do some things overseas and in Mexico. But primarily we do 4 to 5 day training sessions for basic installation, for intermediate installation, sand and finish, training for wood floors. So those happen in a smaller community type environment where our manufacturers come in with us and train installers. And so that's the technical part that's kind of out in the field that most people are familiar with. It was other than the expo, which most people also know. We also have a magazine that helps educate and keep our name out there with the wood flooring community and provide the latest news and those types of things.
Mm-hmm. All very good stuff. So how did you end up becoming the president? What's your involvement been in the flooring industry?
Sure. Well, the interesting thing about associations is that, there's an association for everything. So you could be an underwater basket weaver, and there's probably an association out there for you to get more education with. And so I've spent, I guess, almost 25 years in association management. I came from the National Association of Electrical Distributors, which are the people that sell electrical products to electrical contractors. And I was with them for 13 years. I ran their magazine, did their PR. And when the National Wood Flooring Association was looking for a CEO, I threw my hat in the ring and went through the interview process and ended up there. But again, we do the same things, just in different types of markets. So from our technical expertise, we have our members that provide a lot of technical support through our committees. And then we have staff people who are technically driven, either having come out of manufacturing or been craftsmen out in the field.
Yeah. Awesome. So the reason I wanted to have you on is I actually, this was a request from someone that listens. Um, a lot of times in the Facebook groups, the question is asked, why do I want to join the NWFA? Or why do I want to go get my CTI? Or why do I want to be a CFI member? It just, with any of these
Sure.
associations, it comes up, why do I want to be a member? And I got to be honest, a lot of the answers I see from the members are really dismal, and they don't do themselves any favors getting new members.
Right.
I do understand that there's a little bit of a boys club feel once you're in, but I don't know why you wouldn't want to expand that. So I wanted to get it straight from the source of, what's the benefits? What am I really getting for that money? Why am I joining? What's it gonna, the question is always, what's it gonna do for me?
Right. Well, and the answer is what you put into it. I mean, that's the short answer.
Mm-hmm.
The opportunities are there to network. They're there to advance your education. We have, one of a kind training for wood flooring people, whether you're going to learn to do some of the more ornate things or whether you're basically doing basic installs. We have people that come to classes, and it's funny, they may have been doing something for 20 years, and that doesn't mean they were doing it right. And you'll see the light bulb moment where they realize that there was a better way to do things all along. And those are the people that always come up to you after class and say, man, I wish I would have done this 20 years ago. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know why it took me so long to actually get into a class. And that happens with almost every student in one way, shape, or form. Once they get to a class, then and get engaged, and they start making friends, and you start meeting people around the country that you can call on as a peer and ask questions of, and how are they running their business, and what are they doing on specific things. We have guys that are in the NWFA that have, they travel around the world together doing floors and projects because they trust each other and they know each other's skill sets. And when it comes to complicated jobs, they are more than, they're not going to take that to chance and just hire anybody. They're going to use a team that they know can get the job done. So that happens a lot. And I think from my perspective, it's membership in the NWFA is only $475 a year. And you get our online university, which has over 200 courses in it. All of those courses count either toward you getting your certification or toward your continuing education units. And, it's just really good information. And a lot of times people think they know everything that there is to know, but that's just simply not the case. We all get up every day and there's something new we can learn every single day if we want to find a way to do it. So we've provided those opportunities. And, I think you have to have some responsibility on yourself. I can't make you join any organization and get value out of it, but I can promise you that if you're in the wood flooring community and you join and you participate, you'll get more than what you invested. We rarely have anybody leave in that regard. The other thing I'll tell you that is interesting, that is a little different about NWFA than perhaps some of the other organizations that you might be familiar with. We represent the whole supply chain, so everybody's a member. Manufacturers are members, distributors are members, contractors are members, inspectors are members. We have an inspection program that is really the only one that works for wood flooring specifically, trained to be able to go out and find what's happening in a wood floor. So there's a lot of technical expertise that comes with it. We have installation guidelines that help you out in the job. We have technical support hotline that you can call if you're in the field and you don't know what to do and you're trying to figure out a way to solve a problem. We're there to help provide those services too. So really we're there to make, from a business side as well, to help businesses be more profitable, to learn how to operate a business. You may have, a lot of people may know how to do a floor, but they may not know how to run a business. So we try to provide a lot of those tools as well.
See, and this is all stuff that's never mentioned. Everybody knows you're running training classes, and that's what they think you're going to get. Okay, I'm going to buy the membership. Maybe you throw me some coupons or something, and I get my name listed on your website, and then I go and pay for the class, and I get to say, I'm a certified sand and finish, like basic sand and finish. To me, it's all what you make of it.
Right.
I can tell you that for me, I went and I took the hardwood and laminate CFI class, and I'm the only one in 82 miles. There's another one 82 miles north of me. So within the greater Phoenix area, I'm the only one. If you don't think that I claim that on every single post I make on Facebook and community groups to help advertise my business, you're kidding yourself, because why not make a big statement out of it and say, look, hey, I did this. And you brought
Well,
up,
that's absolutely right.
So
one of the things that we do for our certification program is we have a consumer website that's called woodfloors.org.
Mm-hmm.
And within that website, there's consumer information. We have a consumer campaign, so all of that information is there to try to educate on wood flooring specifically. But the other thing that's there is a search by zip code directory so that you can find an NWFA member. But if you're an NWFA certified installer or sand and finisher or an inspector, you go up in the rankings. So if you search by your zip code and there's only one person within a 50-mile radius that has their certification, they're going to come up first. So to us, that's providing a value back to you being invested in your career, and we can certify it at some degree that you had the basic education. That doesn't mean you're not going to make mistakes on the job, but it does mean that you passed a certification that was created by an industry to say this is what you have to know and this is what you should know in order to be certified. And we take the proctoring very seriously, and the skills that are either you either have them or you don't. And we don't pass people through the testing unless they actually test through and can do the install or the sand and finish.
And I think a lot of the bodies are like that. It's not to say that the guy can't sit there and do it correctly in the class and then he's going to go out in the field and muck it up because he just wants to do it the lazy way and fast way. But I've got a feeling that if the organization starts seeing stuff like that, they're going to pull it, because you're not representing them in the true light, and you're going to give them a bad name. So
right, exactly. And that's why we're very cautious, and we require continuing education. A lot of people question us sometimes about requiring continuing education. But you can't just remain stagnant. You have to continuously learn, and we're committed to, lifelong learning. So we require people to continue to get the education, to get their continuing education units, and a lot, so much of that's available online. And there's just a lot of detail that, you don't necessarily pick up maybe even the first or second time you hear it. But then after you're in the field a while and you start seeing things happen, and then something else would, go off and you'll hear some message you didn't hear before. So, I always figure if you go through an online course and you pick up one thing that helps make a job in the future better, then it was well worth your time.
I couldn't agree more. I started a book club to go with the podcast, and I listen to a lot of audiobooks during the day and a lot of podcasts. If I only pick up 10% out of everything that I'm listening to, I'm 10% better than I was when I started. So
right.
I get it. And it's not to say I can't go back and listen to that book 18 more times. Like, I'm going to get something different out of it every time. So I agree. It's, you don't want the heart surgeon that hasn't taken a continuing education course in 30 years working on you. Why would you want the guy that hasn't done any education in sand and finish work working on your floors? It doesn't make sense.
Right. Well, and I think, I think a lot of times we forget how personal your floors really are. If you're spending a lot of money to put new floors in the house, they're very important. And if you're going to spend the money to do wood, you definitely are looking for something that is increasing the value of your home. It is, it's a personal choice, and it's your largest piece of furniture, in some ways, and showcases everything else that you have. So it's very personal, and, people get upset about things that don't turn out right. And, so one of the reasons we have a certification program, one of the reasons we have training, is to try to help grow the wood flooring market, because we have qualified people that are going out and doing installs. It's one of the few flooring installation is one of the few trades where you can basically just start doing it, and that's not necessarily good for the industry. And so last year we established an apprenticeship program with the Department of Labor that allows, a continuous learning process. It's a 3-year program, and some of the areas can be tested out if you've been in the field for a while. But it's a way to provide credibility and help raise the salary levels of people that are out there doing it right. So, we're excited about that professionalism, and as that program it starts to grow, of being able to try to change the face of the industry as we go forward.
That sounds amazing, because that's one of the biggest things is with the installer crisis that's going on. And, most of the guys are 50 plus, and there's no young kids that are in Gen Z that are 25 and younger that want to work. A lot of it's because our rates just suck, right. And part of that's guys not knowing how to run a business. And part of that's that shops don't want to pay. And there's lots of stuff going into it, but anything we can do to say this is a skilled trade, it's not a commodity, and it's going to be expensive, I think is great.
Yeah, well, there has to be a certain level of professionalism that comes with it, and for the certification to matter, the consumer has to buy into that. And I think that is one of the things that happens when you do go ahead and get your certification, or if you're a member of a professional organization, it shows your commitment to being a professional, and I think that comes back in spades to people that invest and use that as a marketing tool in their local marketplace.
Definitely, anything you can do to separate yourself from the quote unquote competition out there. I don't like calling other contractors competition. We actually need to have more camaraderie instead of thinking they're taking your jobs. Build a relationship, right, in my opinion, and work together, tackle big projects together, teach people things. It's a whole thing, and we could go on another hour about that. So
sure.
But essentially we just go out, work together, and now I lost my point, but that's okay.
Well, I'll finish your point. I'll finish a point for you, at least. It's I think one of the most rewarding things that I've been doing this. I've been in the organization now for 10 years. And so one of the most rewarding things is to actually have seen a generation of new people coming through the ranks and learning the trade. And then you see them every year at the show, and they've got their own group of peers. They're talking to each other all the time. They're on their social media together. They're going back and forth amongst things. And where else can you get that opportunity to have someone who does exactly what you do, who's not a competitor, than to participate? And there's just no greater value for a career path than to have a good peer networking group and people you can ask questions of that you trust.
Yeah, no. And a lot of that's, It's funny. A lot of the answers when people go asking online are, "Oh, just go to a class. You'll see what it's about." But that's exactly what it's about. It's about going and building those relationships, because anybody that's willing to give up money to go and invest in their career has a different mindset. Why wouldn't you want to go hang out with those people? They're like-minded.
Sure.
They're with you. It's not the guy at the shop that's complaining how he's only making $1.85 a square foot to knock in 2 1/4 all day. The guys that go out are the ones charging $3.50 a square foot to go.
Right.
Those are your people.
Those are your people. That's right. And I didn't bring this up earlier, but you did bring it up a little bit. We do have when you join the NWFA, or when you renew every year, you get a set of certificates from our manufacturers. So basically, it's more than 10 times what you pay. You're getting back in rebates or coupons that you can use on specific product that you're going to use in your job anyway. So it really is kind of a no-brainer that, if you're going to get 10 times the value of $400 for joining in products that you're going to be using anyway, then, there really is there's no risk. You're going to get more out of it than what you put in, even if you don't participate in anything other than getting those value-added type deals.
Yeah. No, I think that's it.
But you're not going to be happy with us until you participate. You've got to come to some classes. You've got to get involved with the organization and figure out where you can also give back, because that's a big part of what we do too. Is these people are learning from people that came up the ranks of training within NWFA, and now they want to participate, and they want to give back, and they want to advance their craft by teaching somebody else. So it really is, it's all peer driven.
Well, it sounds like it pays itself forward. You go and you learn, and then you want to get more involved, and you learn how to become the trainer, and then you start hosting training classes in your area to bring up the level there, and that brings in more guys. So, I know the training classes take place all over the place. If you can swing it, I would highly recommend that you go out of your area. Not that meeting guys in your area wouldn't benefit you, but I think meeting guys from other parts of the country would benefit you more, because you're going to see a lot of different styles, and everyone's going to have their say on how things happen, instead of generally, a lot of things are geographic. So if you go and do a class in San Diego and you're from San Diego, you're probably going to see a lot of the same techniques. So
right. And that's an interesting point. The only thing I would say that differs a little bit is, if you went to the Southeast, for example, you probably are going to learn more about engineered wood flooring going on a concrete slab than if you go to a class in the Northeast where you're learning how things are going to go over a basement, and the market still tends to be a little more solid in nature. So, there are some geographic things that we try to teach by that are different, but the skill sets are still the same. As far as what you walk away from. And there are different ways that things get done by region, which is kind of fascinating. But the value proposition to me, if we're going to training, is first of all, you need to get away from home. You don't want to be somewhere where you can drive back and forth to home, because home's going to take precedence at some point, whether it's your kid's got a ball game, or your wife wants you to go do something with her family, or whatever that looks like. You have to get away from that tug. So you have to commit the time. And I think you're absolutely right. Leave your home area, someplace you're not necessarily familiar with, and be there for the training, and be there for the engagement, and be there to go out to dinner with the guys and to hear them talk, and to meet the instructors, and to hear what tips they have, and to hear the specific things on, if the finish manufacturer is there, what can you learn from him, and those types of things. So I really agree with you. And I think you really have to commit to really being there for 4 or 5 days. It's not a lifetime commitment, but it's certainly, it's enough time commitment that you're going to go home and something will have stuck.
Correct. And it's not, like you said, you end up, everyone generally, there's like one hotel that's close by. And if, I don't know if NWFA books a hotel that tells everybody go stay here or whatnot, or if you just find the closest one to it, and most people end up there, but you end up, you go out to dinner with everybody. You're not just there at 8 hours a day in the class. You end up spending all waking hours with these people. And you really, truly do build great relationships in a few days that are going to last a lifetime. And that's what no one's talking about. When people say just go and attend, and that's what you'll find out, that's what they're talking about. It's not just about learning a new technique in the class. It's about those personal relationships that will literally change your business for the rest of your life. Because when you run into a problem, you're now going to have a lot of amazing friends to contact that have run it. Yeah. Probably one of them's probably run into it and can get you out of it.
Yeah, it really can be a game changer for your business too, because people that have learned how to do something correct want to share that information with people for the most part. So again, and I like your idea of, again, going some weeks a little bit further away than your hometown for training, and the fact that you are going to meet non-competitors, and they're going to be in from around the country. Now, a lot of people like to come to St. Louis to our headquarters because it is the headquarters, and the association built the building that we're in, and it's done specifically for training, and people have come in and out of that facility for years, and it's kind of like coming to the mothership, if you will. And seeing where everything happens. And we love having people in and out of the headquarters as well. And a lot of the more advanced medallions and that type of thing, we do primarily just in St. Louis because it requires so much different equipment and those types of things. So we'll do some of the higher level craftsman stuff here. So, and it's a great opportunity to come in and meet folks that are working on your industry every day. So, we have great jobs. We get up every morning and we get to go try to help an industry do something better. It's a great feeling, and it's great when people come and they see what you're trying to what you're trying to do for them, and it really is all about making things better. So it's great to see that. Now there are people that gets caught up in the politics of any organization or any industry and that type of stuff, but we try to keep everything away from that in the training in particular, and make it everybody's welcome to participate from that perspective.
Well, and that's the political part's the bad part of it, and that's just, you can't have one guy make all the decisions on how the installation guidelines are going to go. You have to get a group of guys together, and they're going to sit there and they're going to argue it out, and you got to stand up for your point, and it's going to take years to make them. Now, I know new guidelines just came out, but it'd been years since, and it's not because it just takes time. Like, you've got to
well, and they have been added. The original ones, came out about 30 years ago, something like that, and they got added onto, and things changed and technologies changed, and they would get updated, but they didn't always get all the updates, because you would establish a committee to work on chapter 8, 9, and 10 or something like that. Well, they never thought about going back to chapter 4 and making for sure that all of that was consistent. So that was really what needed to happen was the consistency needed to be put in place. The new technologies needed to be added. There needed to be ways of just keeping the thing more current and up to speed. And I'm really proud of what came out of it. It went from being, a loose leaf guideline in a binder to being, more than 80 pages of bound copy with print and photos and illustrations. One of the things I think we did the best job on, our team did, was we have architectural drawings in there now. So basically, and we put those online so you can pull those out and basically have a spec ready for you just to drop into your bid or to share with your GC or whatever you need that for. So there's just a lot of new resources that really help, again, make your job a little easier to do.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, look, you get one of those, you can download that for free as a member. That's part of what your $400 is paying for, correct?
Correct.
And the people that put time and effort into it donated their time. There's not many paid staff on that project.
Correct.
So look, your money, the membership fees go in places it needs to go to handle other things, and I'm sure there's probably lobbying and all sorts.
Right.
Well, let's get into that. But there's so many other things going on that you can get involved in with behind the scenes. Like you said, you can be on a committee for installation guidelines. You guys are probably running 10 committees on 10 different things right now. And there's all kinds of ways to be involved. Once you're a member, you can find out more. So
yeah.
Let's
one of the things I did want to talk about, though, before we move on is,
okay.
When COVID hit, we were about 6 weeks away from our annual meeting. So our trade show was scheduled to be in April,
mm-hmm.
and we couldn't hold it. So we ended up doing that as a virtual event. So in doing that, we decided that, it really wasn't fair to try to charge people to come to a meeting that, if you weren't able to work, we knew people at the time, but not necessarily the resources to pay to come to a virtual meeting. So we ended up doing that for free for the industry, just to make sure that everybody had an opportunity while they were sitting or not being able to go to work on a regular basis or whatever that might look like, to put the education out while they had the time to do it. So
mm-hmm.
that information is still available. You can go to nwfaexpo.org and you can see all of the classes and all the demos and all the exhibitor displays that were out for the virtual expo are still available. We did the event back in April, but everything will be there. And then one of the things we're launching currently is a series of webinars so that, again, distance learning has obviously become a big thing since we were all locked down in our houses or not able to keep our regular schedules. So we're trying to meet people where they are. And, until things completely clear up, we can't have more than 10 people in a room in most states. So doing training is complicated. So we're moving a lot of that platform to online where we can. And then we'll do some workshops that have 10 folks in them, coming into this fall. And when we can bump those numbers up, then we can go back to our regular training.
Okay. So are there any scholarships? Like, can I apply
absolutely.
to get, I'm a broke joke, and if I can get a plane ticket, can I come and do a class somehow?
Well, what happens with the scholarships is that you have to fill out an application, and then we don't do the scholarship on the front end, because then sometimes you're not guaranteed they're actually going to make it through the class, and you really want someone who is committed and goes through the class to get the scholarship.
Okay.
So what we do is we do the scholarship at the end of the class, and we present it in every school. We present someone with a scholarship. But they apply on the front end, but then it's delivered after the class is complete.
Okay. And there's one per class.
Correct.
And you said you were doing
now, if we could raise more funds, we could give away training for free if we could get enough funds going into that. But I also think people need to have a little bit of buy-in into their own education and into their own future for it to really matter as much. So,
totally.
There's a line to balance there.
Yes. No, I couldn't agree more. If you don't have some skin in the game, you're not going to take it seriously. And like I said, that's when you're going to get those guys who are coming and they can pass the class, but they're going to go back and they're not going to take what they learned seriously. So,
right.
Let's touch on that a little bit. Where's my money going. So I give it to you guys, and okay, I get NWFA University. I get listed on woodfloors.org or
Right.
okay, and then I get the membership. I get the vouchers, which are like $4,000 worth of vouchers. But what is there's salaries it's paying. There's overhead for the building.
Right.
There's flying equipment across the country for classes. But
Right.
overall, what kind of where's that going?
Well, those are
So
the biggest costs.
okay,
Obviously, paid employees are an expense, and that's where a lot of that expense goes to. But you're also paying to have a group of professionals dedicated to working on what's affecting the wood flooring industry on a daily basis. All year round. So and that staff does what we've already talked about. They either do the training or they do our expo. We also do lobbying on Capitol Hill with a group that's called the Hardwood Federation, which is a group of 23 hardwood related associations around the country that come together and lobby in Washington. Our members can come and participate and go up on Capitol Hill and talk to their senators or their congressmen as with a united voice, trying to make for sure that we're keeping the wood flooring community safe from unnecessary legislation. So there's a lot that gets done that you wouldn't necessarily see in that regard unless you were part. And if that's the thing that you wanted to be a part of, you absolutely could. But that tends to be, perhaps more on the manufacturing and distribution side, where we get people that are participating on a regular basis there.
But now you guys are okay. So you're representing manufacturers, but you're also running the classes for.
There's no doubt about it.
So
that
like
we
who
exists for the installer?
Well, and that's what I want to hear is at the end of the day, like whose back are you really going to have in it if push comes to shove?
Well, the whole reason the NWFA exists is because a group of people wanted to make for sure that they could grow the wood flooring market by having installations that were successful. And so, back in the day, it was mostly sand and finish work that was being done. So it was very sand and finish oriented in the training. Over time, that's changed. You have more factory finish floors going in, and that type of, the industry has changed and the technology has changed, but the need to have installation done correctly has not changed. No. And, wood is a natural substance and it changes in its environment. So it's a little more complicated to work with than some of the other product. So we really, that's what everybody's playing in the game for is to make for sure that we have installers out there that are educated and know how to do it right. That helps everybody in the supply chain. That helps the person who sold it at retail. That helps the distributor that sold it to the retailer. And there's a disconnect there too, as far as, making sure you have a sales staff. We have a sales certification that helps ensure that salespeople know what the job is they're selling, and they're actually selling the right product into the right environment. A lot of times when you see the inspection reports come back out of the inspection program, a lot of times what happens in the report where something went wrong really went wrong at the point of sale. And so it's important to try to get it right there as well. And so of course that all comes back to the rest of the supply chain, and everybody's equal at the table. It doesn't matter whether you're a manufacturer, distributor, contractor, or an inspector. If you're on the board of directors, you have an equal say. And we try to keep everything kind of equal as far as how many representatives from each member type we have. And we're the only trade association that has everybody at the table. Typically in a trade, you would have a manufacturers association, a distributors or a sales association, and then you would have a contractor association. So, I think our greatest strength and our greatest weakness are all tied up in that, right? So our greatest strength is we're bringing everybody to the table and everybody gets a say. But at the same time, our greatest weakness is that everybody gets a say. So it's democracy at its best if it works correctly.
Yeah.
And when it works correctly, it's because everybody was able to contribute to what the ultimate outcome was. So again, it's just trying to make things better is at the end of the day what we do.
And I think that's really important, having everybody at the table, because installers want one thing, manufacturers want another, distributors want something. Everybody's wanting something, and unless we learn how to work together to solve the problems, we're all going to keep bickering and we're not going to be able to advance because everyone's going to be too hung up on their singular issue, and you're not going to be able to get them anywhere.
Right. So those partnerships have to exist across the supply chain. And that's really what happens at our expo and Even the trainings too. I mentioned earlier that the manufacturer reps are on site doing training with us. They can't talk about their specific product when they're doing demos and when they're on a panel, but you certainly know who they work for. And so there's a benefit for them in being able to meet new contractors and to meet people coming through as well. It's not mutually exclusive. Everybody can win when you do it in a way where everybody gets a say.
Yeah. Now, what is the NWFA doing anything to get manufacturers to step their game up and get back into the training game? Besides you guys just like offering what classes you offer, I know in the past many manufacturers offered training, whether it was like Shaw with carpet or Pergo had their own training for laminate years and years ago. I know Bona has training classes and American Sanders has training classes, and gosh darn it, what's the Rapid RH that they've got? I can't think of the company name. It won't come to me, but they were giving away the Rapid RH training for free because of COVID, and so you could watch the videos and take the test at home and get certified. But I feel like in the wood world, there's quite a few companies that are offering training. It's more in like carpet, laminate, vinyl, plank that these companies probably need to step up. But do you guys do anything to like tell manufacturers like, hey, you need to step your game up and get more involved?
Well, I think on the wood side, they look to us for that. I think that's part of the value proposition for them being engaged in NWFA, is that we're really taking on the training of the installer for the manufacturers as a group. And so where you see the individualized training come in the wood sector is really more around specialty type work. So whether it's sand and finish, those types of companies, finish companies and sanding equipment companies they want you to learn on their tools and do it, in relation to what they have to offer. Mm-hmm. And some of the finishes are very complex, and some of the, to learn how their process works, is a little more specific as opposed to a wood flooring manufacturer who, the install is the install. They're not necessarily trying to be engaged always in the finished product.
Yeah. No, I get it. I know the reps do a good job of getting out to a lot of locations and doing small classes here and there and representing their products and explaining them and the benefits of them and stuff like that. So,
right.
I would love to see more of it in the Phoenix area. That's for sure. This is I feel this is a very dead zone for all of that stuff. So if you are a rep, come hit me up, reach out to me, and we will see. I will tell you where to go, and I will do my best to get people there, because I don't even do sand and finish work, but I would still love to learn more. But that's just me. I'm a super dork.
Well, I think most people that get enjoyment out of flooring industry want to know more about their craft.
Definitely. I mean, are there any other benefits
I think we've
you can
talked
think
about?
Of?
I think we've talked a lot. I don't want to keep talking and keep people listening when they might have something else to go do, like sand the floor. So,
well, the whole point of this is that you're supposed to be learning while you earn.
That's true.
So
that's true.
I mean, what's how did the virtual expo compare to the in-person expo, in your opinion? Like, what kind of attendance did you get? What kind of interactions did you get? Feedback from it? How'd that?
Yeah,
how did that pan out?
this is the first time we've ever tried it, and we canceled our meeting when we were forced to by the state of Wisconsin. Our meeting was going to be in Milwaukee. So once they came out with the rule that you couldn't have more than 10 people together, mm-hmm. Obviously we weren't able to hold our meeting. So we canceled it, and we turned it into a virtual event in about 30 days. So it was a pretty big feat for us as a team to try to do something we'd never done before in a really short time frame. So we were very pleased with the way things turned out. I think everybody who participated in the education was really really kind of blown away. They thought everything was done really well. That we did, we had a lot of video demos that were done by our regional instructors. We have 8 regional instructors across the country and in Canada that train by region, and they also participate in our expo, and they come to St. Louis for some of the more craftsman oriented training. But they all did some demos. We had some of the manufacturers that also did some demos. And then we had education classes. So, everybody that did the education loved it. I think we had a little bit of a disconnect for people going into the trade show portion, so if you're going to go see a manufacturer at a trade show, that's a little bit different than going in and looking at their stuff that they have in their booth in a virtual atmosphere. So I think that's the area where we could improve on the next time we do something like this, is having that interaction be a little more present and important. And easy to see. I think we had a little bit of a navigation issue there, but that was the only thing. And not that it was bad. Certainly, if you got a couple of leads out of an event like that, it's a good thing. So we had about the same amount of people. We typically have around 3,000 people live, and we had just under 3,000 do virtual, and it's recorded so people can still do it. So we've had several hundred people go through it, even after it's been completed. So I'd say about now, right, we're around 3,500 people probably have gone through everything at this point. So we're really pleased with that, and the feedback we've gotten has been great. And, it was free, so no one really knew what to expect from that. And I think the quality that we delivered, everyone's been content with.
No, it's great. I love that the content's still there and you can access it, and it's going to, why not? It's digital, it's recorded. Why not just leave it out there to exist and continue to draw attention to yourself? You talked about NWFA University earlier, and I know the classes range from very basic knowledge to higher end stuff. If I was, as a member, I get access to it.
Correct.
I know you can probably pay a little extra, I believe, and you get to offer it to your employees as well.
Well, really, we do it per company. So you pay $100, and you pay $100, and everybody in your company can go through, whether it's one person or 26 people. We did it that way so that the whole company was getting value out of it and was committed to trying to educate their crews.
Okay. And so that was going to be my question, is if I bring on a new guy that has zero experience, how long are the classes? Like if he's done sweeping a room for me and, I'm not quite ready to have him do something, is there like a 20-minute video he could pop on his phone and watch and start
That's exactly how it's set up. We set it up that way. It's very strategically and intentionally that everything would be between 20 and 30 minutes. That way, if you're on a job site and you take a break or whatever and you have some time, you can do that, or you're waiting for something else to happen and you've got some time. That tends to be about a good amount of time that you go, what am I going to do for this next 20 or 30 minutes? So we broke everything up in that type of module. And then there's testing at the end of each module so that we can make for sure that you learned what you needed to get out of there. And if you got distracted, then you would have to go back and go through it again in order to advance if you were going to work on your certifications, for example. So, it goes everything from, there's some sustainability type topics that are covered, and then there are even business operations type topics that are covered. But there are 4 learning paths that lead to certification, and you can also get badges as you go through the process. So if you just, for example, learned how to do board replacement and you pass the classes, you can choose to purchase a badge that you can display in your social media or on your website. And in the search mechanism, then on our consumer site, that pops up. So if somebody went to our website and searched board replacement, you would pop up, because you have that designation. So there's a whole different world once you get into it. And it's, to some degree, it gets kind of competitive between the students, especially if they're going through it. It's good to go through it with a buddy, I think, where you're challenging each other and to keep going and, and to be committed. But, we've had during the coronavirus, we've just had exponential growth on the university platform of people utilizing that online, university and the online training. So it's really motivated us to put even more stuff out there.
No, that's great. I'm glad to hear that people are getting involved and using it. I like that you can show off what you've accomplished and been, certified in or
Yeah,
educated with, and you can use that once again at anything I can do to make myself stand out from the next guy. I'm all about that because I want to, if I could have a giant wall of certifications, when someone walks into my store and sees that, and then they walk down the street to the next store and there's no certifications, who are you going to go with? It's a no-brainer.
Absolutely.
Even if you're more expensive, it's a no-brainer. So I love that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm all about it. Let's see. Long time, you're the association guy. So what kind of any business books that you highly recommend that are just a must read?
Oh gosh. You know what? I kind of went blank when you asked me that.
I know, right on the spot, huh? I'm a horrible guy. Okay, let it simmer.
All right.
Where's the NWFA going in the future? What's the next big hurdle for you guys to really push for and accomplish?
Well, I mean, I think we try to continue pushing in all the areas that we work on. So from a networking standpoint, how do we now take what we've done virtually by, you learned, I think in our case, we had to learn because we were forced to, but now that we have had a really successful virtual event, how do we tie that into what we do with our live events, and how do we keep the education and the format going throughout the year, and how do we engage our manufacturers to keep things in front of our contractors on an ongoing basis through that type of platform. So I think that's the big thing for us now, is how do we integrate our live events with our virtual events and keep all of that moving forward in a way that actually makes sense, and it's more streamlined, and you can create a path through that.
Okay.
And of course, obviously, our online university has 4 paths of education in it already. So how do we now integrate that with what we've done in a virtual expo type situation? So, all of that training is tied into the online university, so you can see all of that stuff there. We've actually been recording our sessions at Expo for a number of years, and those are all available within the online university as well. So again, but just trying to figure out, how do we serve up that? We have so much content now. How do we serve up that content and get it in front of the people that need it? And, obviously in a cost-effective manner. So I think that's the biggest thing, probably for the next 18 months or so, is to figure out and how the world's changed. Obviously things have changed a lot with COVID, and people are going to get their training differently, and they're going to want things differently, and things are going to be different. So, how do we respond to that, and how do we help our members respond to those types of things?
Mm-hmm.
So, which is, one of the things we did was a podcast series with Chris Zizza, who's our immediate past chairman. That's a contractor out of Boston. We've been doing a series on COVID. So as things happen, and as things happen with the Small Business Administration loan programs, we've been trying to keep people up to speed, because there's just so much confusing information out there.
Yeah.
And then, also tips on what are you doing in your business, and how do you keep it running, and what are you having your guys doing there on downtime, or how are you setting up your retail environment for post-COVID, and those types of things. So, that's the kind of value that we try to bring every day that you really can't get anywhere else except from your peer group.
Yeah. And that's, it's funny how it constantly comes back to that, is that the only way to truly grow is to go out and get more involved. And, like I said before, those people, they're not your competition. Go find the like-minded individuals that want to build something bigger than just showing up and sanding a floor and going home at the end of the day until you put finish on it, and then you rinse and repeat.
Well, I also think invite your competitor to come to training, because there's no better competitor than an educated one.
Correct.
And a lot of times what you end up competing against is someone who's competing only on price. They're not even competing on their skill set or what the value is that they bring to a project. And so you have to understand that and learn that, right? You have to learn how to price yourself effectively, so that you can, not only keep your business running, but also make some money. There's nothing wrong with making money.
No, there's not. It's the way I always put it is that, honestly, this trade will, abuse your body, and you can only use it for so long. And I don't think most contractors factor that into their equation.
Right, until their knees give out, and then they say, now what, right?
Correct. And so
Yeah.
you've got to charge more because you're putting abuse on your body that no one else is. And you're not going to be able to, even with the knee pads and the hearing protection and all of that, you're still putting wear and tear on it that most people don't.
Yeah.
And that comes with a cost. And so $1.85 a square foot to bang in 2 1/4 isn't going to cut it. I'm sorry. So.
Well, I'll tell you what, we need a lot more inspectors out there. So if you're one of those guys there that's wondering what the next step is, that's a program you might want to look into, because you can at least get off your knees and look at flooring from a standing height.
And that's that's always an interesting one too. It's because you can do really well when you come from the installation background, as long as you don't start getting biased with it. But you're going to have a good knowledge, more than someone just walking in and taking an inspector course and moving forward. But you get to see a lot of interesting things. So there's no shortage of weird flooring failures out there. That's for sure.
No, that's very true.
Oh, all right. Back to the book. You got a book?
No, I still don't have a book.
That's okay.
We'll have to do another one, and I'll bring a list of books.
There you go. You do any podcasts of your own?
We
do. I know NWFA is producing one, but do you listen to any that are like you use to gain business knowledge or anything like that?
Well, I some of them I listen to more for not as for kind of downtime. Like I like to listen to The Moth. I don't know if you've ever listened to The Moth. It's really about storytelling. So it's a competition that takes place in different cities, and people get up and tell their stories around the theme for the night. And so listening to those, I think, just is a great way of breaking up the day and listening to somebody's story. They're all true. So it's just, I like that one a lot.
All right. I like it. Storytelling is definitely a good thing. It's business related. If you tell a story, people are going to be more engaged than you trying to sell them on, hey, this product's pretty. So I love stories. People relate to stories. Always a good skill to learn. And like you said, it breaks up monotony. I'm no stranger. I'm a dork. I listen to people play Dungeons and Dragons in a podcast, and that's they tell a story. That's essentially all it is. And they roll some dice along the way to have a fight, but they role play out a story, and it's like reading a book, but you never know what's going to happen. So
that sounds fun.
It's entertaining. So but I'm a dork, so that's okay. All right, Michael, I seriously, I very much appreciate your time. We've plugged so many things, but is there anything we may have missed you want to make sure gets plugged for NWFA, anything like that?
No, I mean, I think we've done a nice job of talking about everything we have to offer. And, if you guys have questions, feel free to go to nwfa.org or call us, look us up on website and give us a call. And if you have technical problems, call in and talk to our tech guys. We're here to help you in the field. So keep that in mind.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Look, there's so much more than it's not just classes. There is so much more out there. Give them a call, talk to them. Like everyone else says, just go to a class, go get involved, go to the expo, do something to go out of your way and get more involved with the industry, and you are going to see benefits that you have never seen in your business before. I guarantee it. But you have to take a step outside of your boundaries first to experience a new world, and then you have to be committed to it. So, Michael, once again, thank you. I very much appreciate your
Kyle.
time. Oh, my pleasure.
All right. You have a good day.
You too. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
That's all the time we have for this week. To keep the conversation going, head on over to the Floor Academy Facebook group. Be sure to subscribe so you can hear each and every episode. We can be found on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and most major podcast directories. Don't forget to leave a review and let us know what you think about the show. If you would like to be a guest, have questions or feedback, you can email us at flooracademypodcast@gmail.com. You can help support the show by becoming a patron over at www.patreon.com/Floor Academy. Remember to learn while you earn.